Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
me, Rob. Oh, we got an exciting episode for you guys.
Are you saying that any of our episodes are not exciting?
They're all exciting. I just had
they're all exciting.
I just had to reiterate. I just had to say it again.
Making sure. Sheesh. Saying every single one of them. Every single one is beautiful and amazing and wonderful and special.
It's beautiful to me.
All right, guys. Well, let's get it. We got a few different pieces of Giants news to go over with you all today. So, we do have not just the planned episode we had, because originally we were like, let's talk about the offensive line, the defensive line. A couple interesting news articles came out. We thought we'd go over those with you guys, and then still go over the offensive line so we continue our series of going over the review of all the players from this year's roster that played in at least one game. And then with that as well, we also go ahead and give your picks for the postseason here. That starts up here just a couple of days here on Saturday, while we have the college football postseason going on while we're talking here, as Penn State's already up 10-0 here in the second quarter. So not looking too good for Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
I don't know why they don't say it that way. Like, everybody else is Notre Dame. Like, it's not the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
They're not French. They're Irish. What do you want?
And that's another thing I didn't think about that. Why is an Irish school based on a French cathedral?
Because religion.
I'm just saying. It's a little weird. Anyway, let's get right into, guys, talking about first topic of the day. And let's talk about Eli. Look at that. Eli's got that greedy little hand thing going there.
Yeah, right?
Oh, here.
Scrooge McDuck right there. He's about to spit out some coins.
And there's been topic of him potentially being someone who goes ahead and joins up as a minority owner, because, the big news, obviously, this past year and a half now has been the quest for Tom Brady to become a minority owner of the Raiders, which he now is official. He's very involved with what's going on there now, with the head coach search, and now also, as of today, the GM search. They fired their GM as well, and they've said point blank that the Davis family is expecting a big amount of input from him into who they get going forward there. So, especially Josh McDaniels coming back, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, they're looking at who else could be someone who could prospectively fit that kind of role. And you look at the Giants side, and there's definitely that one guy who comes to mind, and it's Eli Manning. The man made a ton of money. First off, let's be honest there. His career earnings is ridiculous. And I'm not just talking about on the field. I'm talking about off the field. All the endorsements he did, all the stuff.
Him and Payne doing Oreo commercials.
Yeah, the guy really co-hosted SNL. Like, he definitely transcended sports to a degree, which is weird when you look at his personality type. You wouldn't think that's the guy.
Well, him and Payne on the field were very stern, stoic players.
Yeah,
but off the field, those guys are some goofballs.
Oh yeah, Eli was known for his pranks that he'd pull on his fellow players and all. Like, he was known for that. It's kind of part of his leadership skills, though. He'd bring everybody together by, doing that kind of thing and joking around about it. So, I thought it was a great, a great part of who he was as a player, because on the field, we all thought of Eli as this dopey guy sitting on the sidelines with no expression whatsoever, good or bad. But off the field, he was clearly a much different person. It's just the way he was, his personality, a flip switch there. But, they're looking at him as a potential person who could join an ownership group with the Giants. Now, I will preface this by saying there is no ownership share available right now. This was just pure speculation and questioning of whether he'd be interested in it, And he was asked that by Alex Sherman of CNBC Sports. And the response he gave was, it's definitely something of interest. There's probably one team I'd be interested in pursuing, and it's the one I played for 16 years, and it's local and makes the most sense. But we just got to figure out if they would ever sell a little bit, or how that might happen for the Giants. I think my post my quest post football is trying to find that passion and find something similar that I can work towards or I'm totally committed to. I kind of feel like I get to start over a little bit. And I'm enjoying that learning process of figuring out what else I'm passionate about. It'd be interesting, like really, if John Mara wants to get some brownie points right now with the fans, even if he did like 1% of the team to Eli, I feel like that'd be like everybody like, oh my God, something here. Eli's going to come in to fix this. It gives some optimism, so to speak. Which
Yeah.
totally stupid. Let's just say that point blank if that's the reaction. I think it would be, but it would be totally stupid because Eli's never worked in a front office. Eli's never done scouting. Does he know football? Yes, of course. I'm not saying whatsoever. But to think he would come in and just fix this situation magically, like, is beyond me. If you listen to Eli, what he said this week, I thought it was rather disappointing that he was talking, and I don't expect him to say negative, don't get me wrong, but he's talking very positively about the decision to keep Shane and Dable. When it's pretty much obvious, that was definitely the wrong move to make based on the last couple of years there.
But that's also Eli playing politics of the game. So yeah, you be
I
upset.
wouldn't stay quiet if I was him though. Like, just stay quiet. There's no need to give a response even.
Well,
yep, they kept them. I get why they did it and move on.
That's never been him.
I'm just saying, like, he didn't have to go so glowing into it, like, ooh, they made a great move. They keep the culture going, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is the culture we're keeping?
Do you recall Ben McAdoo mention him and how Eli actually said, like, he did the best thing for the team? And he went into depth instead of just saying, yeah he just said for the team. Like, that's who he is. Like, you can't take that away from him. Like, that's just the politics of the game. And that's him being a leader. And that's what a leader does. You just don't brush it off like that. You have to stand up for your
part as an ex-player, because I feel like the ex-players that speak out get kind of eliminated from certain things. Like Carl Banks, for example, does a lot with the media, obviously. But let's be honest, he'll never straight up bash anything the Giants do. Never will.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think Eli's going to do it? Like, especially if they're talking about ownership possibilities?
Look at a guy like LT. I mean, LT has his own legal issues besides that, obviously. But you literally have the greatest player to ever play in the defensive side of football. And he's not around the team very much, not just because they're afraid he's going to share extracurricular activities with the players, but because of the fact that he isn't the guy who will go ahead and say everything positive about the Giants. He will speak his mind. Like, he was the main one saying, to all the players at the 100th season special that they did on the field, saying point blank, we can all get together and probably whoop these guys right now. Like, he doesn't care. He's going to say what's on his mind. Partially has to care because, let's be honest, it's LT. The Giants would never get rid of him entirely unless he got arrested again. I don't know. but otherwise, still, legal issues aside, nothing else would make them ever abandon him because he's the greatest person to ever put a Giants uniform on, point blank. One of the greatest to ever put an NFL uniform on, point blank.
I was about to say.
Potentially you could say that the most game-changing player from the NFL still alive today. I'll say that even over Brady right now because he changed the way the position is played. Brady just played the position better, if that makes sense.
100%. Brady studied the game, but didn't change it.
Yeah.
And he was able to manipulate and read things better than anyone else could. Exactly. LT was a pioneer of how to play that position.
Exactly.
In the modern NFL.
But like I said, I think Eli definitely is fitting into that role now of just supporting ownership 100% with those kind of comments. And I like I said, I'm not saying he had to go there and bash the Mara family and stuff like that. I wouldn't expect that. That'd be insane to expect because he's also an employee of the Giants. Technically, he does work with their media department as part of the Eli show and stuff like that. He does for the Giants. So he is an employee. You don't bash your employer ever. That's not going to go very well. But I do think that he could have been a little less emphatic about it. I'll put it that way. And that's what would scare me is if he was to get, hypothetically, if this situation ever happened, he got partial ownership, we'd all be hoping, okay, here's a new voice. Here's a guy who's going to tell Mara how it is. When you're saying stuff like that publicly, would you? Or is Eli maybe saying something different behind closed doors? And that's part of it too.
I was going to say, there's the big difference to what you say to the media in a front and public than what you say behind closed doors. There's nothing wrong with not airing out dirty laundry.
No, yeah.
Keep it in house.
Like I said, I'm not saying air it. I'm just saying you don't have to necessarily put like 10,000 sheets of fabric softener and try to claim that you have something smelling good.
Yeah, I hear you, but I also don't think it was that to that degree. But yeah, I get you.
That being said, though, I would still love it just for the nostalgia part of it. It'd be pretty cool because he'd be involved with the Giants the rest of his life, and I'd like that part of it. So.
I mean, he's already going down in Giants history, but
oh yeah, I mean, and he'll probably be around forever just because of who he is and the Super Bowl rings. And like I said, he won't, be the guy who's going to get in legal trouble, like aforementioned LT. Like, I don't think we're ever have to worry about him getting caught with an underage hooker. I'm just saying. I think that's pretty safe to say. Who knows?
Hopefully,
Tiger Woods shocked me. Who knows? Like. You never know. We never know what's going on in their life outside of it. But like I said, I think it'd be a nice publicity move for them if they ever did something like that. That's for sure. And this is definitely a time when the Giants could use some publicity. It's good. Definitely haven't had a lot of that lately.
No.
So, let's talk about another move that would be a good potential publicity move. The Giants fans have been talking about a certain man, Antonio Pierce, being a potential candidate for defensive coordinator. Now, first off, I have to start this segment off by saying we have not fired our defensive coordinator. So I'm a bit confused why this keeps becoming such a large topic. He is still employed by the New York Football Giants. Now, a lot of this speculation comes from the fact that Shane Bowen obviously has a great relationship with Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is rumored to be the favorite to be the coach for the New England Patriots. And they're thinking that Shane Bowen will ask to be released from his contract with the Giants so he can go to the Patriots. So that's where a lot of this is coming from. But a lot of this is also coming from the fact that Giants fans, wrongly in my opinion, dislike Shane Bowen.
Yeah.
You can't blame the chef for not making the best meal when the ingredients kind of suck.
Or, can't blame the sous chef when the chef's not making the right.
Well, yeah, I mean,
ingredients.
We talked about it before. The holes are big on defensive line, corner. Issues where they're left and right. As far as personnel issues, I don't think the guys there necessarily fit his defense as well as they fit Winks as well as part of it too. But
yeah, that's a big part of it.
It is what it is. I mean, that part of it's done. But I just want to reiterate that in case anybody is a Bowen hater and hadn't heard that part. But there's a lot of people speculating now. Antonio Pierce does have a resume that you can sit there and say he does qualify as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. Obviously played with the NFL 01 to 04 with Washington, 05 to 09 with us. So, that's 9 years in the league, which for some reason it feels like he had a longer career. 9 years. That's kind of shorter than I remember it always whenever I hear it.
Yeah, right.
Went into coaching 5 years after his retirement, was the head coach for the Long Beach Poly High School in California. Did that job there for 4 years. Went off to be one of the guys at Arizona State with Herm Edwards. Was the linebackers coach and recruiting coordinator 18 to 19. Also gained the title of associate head coach and co-defensive coordinator in 2020, and then became just regular defensive coordinator the following year of 21, along with still having the associate head coach and recruiting coordinator thing. But keep in mind, he also got a lot of trouble at Arizona State for his coordination of recruiting. Along with Jaden Daniels' mom and all kinds of stuff there. He was banned from the NCAA for 7 years because of the things they found out he did, because literally some of his coaches beneath him ratted him out because they were worried about getting in trouble. So leaves there, goes to be a linebackers coach for the Raiders for 2 years, and then becomes the interim head coach last year, then the head coach this year. So, I mean, he's got a resume, but he's a guy that I think was kind of a shocker to even get the head coaching job at all with, Las Vegas. And a lot of that was because the players loved him. Absolutely loved him.
Yeah.
And I'll sit there and say this point blank, the way they played down the stretch and considering the roster they had, I still think he should have got at least one more season. I mean, that, look at what the Raiders did down the stretch with when the season was over. And granted, Raiders fans are probably pissed off, same as we were when we beat the Colts, because they ruined their good draft pick. But, I mean, they lost to the Chargers. Okay, fair enough. That's a playoff team. They beat the Saints. They beat the Jaguars. They barely lose to the Falcons. Like they had a good 4-week stretch, only 2-2, but 3 of the 4 they were in, and one of them was just a really good team that beat them. Like,
yeah, and
that's not a bad way to end the season, especially when you don't have a quarterback, you don't have all these, a line, you don't have all these things going on here. Like, there's not a very full cupboard for the Las Vegas Raiders, guys. Not that the Giants can talk much either, but it's not a very full cupboard, really.
But you're also talking about, like, the Chargers is a divisional game that they played against when they played against the Raiders. Like, so they see each other twice a year, and like, with Harbaugh being over there with the Chargers, and we'll talk about that later. It's like he brought a different team, and yeah, sometimes in divisional games you have those tight games with the bad team and a good team, and sometimes one smokes the other, and that's what just happened.
Yep. So, like I said, I can see how people would want him for the Giants. I mean, obviously, former Giants player, former Super Bowl champion. A lot of people think very highly of an organization, and I know a lot of people like him personally. He's a very charismatic person, from what I hear. But having a year and a half as a linebackers coach, and then a year and a half as a head coach, I don't know if that's the resume I need for a defensive coordinator. But I also don't think anybody wants to come here, hypothetically, if they get rid of Bowen either. We talked about that before. Like, literally, everybody knows that you are on a very short leash with Dable and Shane. If you are a guy like Antonio Pierce that may get one shot to become a good defensive coordinator here in this league, are you taking that shot with the Giants right now? I'm not.
Or it's also in the same boat. Like, how many people are going to give Antonio Pierce a shot at being a DC?
And that's the problem you're into.
So it's kind of like you have to scratch each other's back, and Antonio Pierce has got to come in here and like turn this defense around. Like, and this defense, like, let's be real. Like, people said every now and then your defense goes just about average. Turn around. They really weren't that. they really weren't that bad of a defense. They're just on the field way too low. Turn around.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, part of what I look at though with him as well is the question of what kind of defense, if hypothetically the position became available, we brought him in, what kind of defense would he run? We've never seen him be a defensive coordinator in the NFL even. There's a lot of questions with him. There really is. And he's an intriguing candidate if we do let go of Shane Bowen or let him go off to coach with the Vrabel. But honestly, he would not be my first choice, second choice, or probably third choice.
Probably not fifth or sixth.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, like I said, I feel like Giants fans, especially because we're really dying for good times right now. We're looking kind of at the past and remembering guys, and obviously Antonio Pierce is part of that. But you can't overlook the fact that he's never been a defensive coordinator in the NFL. He has a little bit of an issue past-wise with his time at Arizona State. And my understanding, listen, I don't pretend to be a California high school football expert, but my understanding was that Long Beach Poly High School did not do very good under him either. So...
yeah, couldn't tell you.
Like I said, I'm not an expert on, again, a California high school football. I can just tell you that from what I heard, his time there was not thought of as a glory time for the team overall. So, but again, that's not expecting to be a head coach, just a defensive coordinator. Plus, it was his first job. But when I say just defensive coordinator, the other thing is that could be intriguing to him is he can come here potentially and replace Dable halfway through the season if things don't work out. So he's been an interim coach before, just saying.
Yeah, and it worked for him last time.
Yeah. I would almost rather bring back Patrick Graham. I mean, I got to assume that if Pierce is gone, Graham is gone too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just saying. Options.
Options here.
All righty. So, came across a very interesting article today, guys. So, whenever we do something that's not ours, we try to make sure we give it credit where credit is due here. And we've talked about this before. It'd be fun to kind of make a team up of people who used to play for the Giants that are still in the NFL. Well, someone beat us to the punch because they did it. So, we're talking about making a team from the Giants there, still in the league. And this was done by Dan Benton of Giants Wire. Again, guys, we'll never take credit for the people's work. Dan Benton of Giants Wire. So if you like the concept, like the thing, go check out his work. And a very interesting mix. And the scary thing is, I could look at this roster and go, is this better than our actual roster? And I don't know the answer to this because we're very strong in some positions. Very strong in some positions. And guess what? That team has a quarterback.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's get right into it. Quarterback. Geno Smith, which, again, if you're thinking old school Geno Smith, not so good. Geno Smith in Seattle. That's a much better quarterback than we've had in quite a long time since Eli retired.
Yeah, I was about to say, we haven't had a top 15, top 10 quarterback. Like, there's some weeks he's top 5.
Yeah. Yep. Backup quarterbacks. The first one's going to hurt you a little bit. Daniel Jones. But again, Daniel Jones as a backup would not be a bad thing. Now, it wouldn't work in New York because of the baggage, all that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying overall, he's not a bad backup. A lot of starting experience. He does have some tools he does bring. And again, great guy in the locker room and everything. So don't worry about him causing issues. A third guy is a third QB. Cooper Rush. People forget we did have Cooper Rush on the roster for a little bit there in between his Cowboy stays there. So, like I said, much better quarterback room than we've had in a few years. Much better.
Yeah, quite a long time.
Running backs. You can guess who the starting running back is. Saquon Barkley, backed up by Matt Breida. Wayne Gallman, who just made his way through the minor leagues, as we'll call here, the spring football he did just recently there. That was with the St. Louis Battlehawks of the UFL. There's been rumors of him coming back potentially. Did not come back this year into the NFL, but there's been rumors. But he is also 30 years old, so I don't know how many 30-year-old backups you really have space for in the NFL at the running back position. And then also a special team ace, Gary Brightwell, who, let's be very frank, I would rather have him than Eric Gray. Just saying.
100%.
Yeah. Wide receiver. This is definitely one spot we are a little thin at, okay? Definitely a little thin. Odell Beckham Jr., Sterling Shepard, Dante Pettis, Kadarius Toney, Khalif Raymond, who also doubles up as a kick returner for us in this, along with Gary Brightwell, and Colin Johnson. Remember Colin Johnson? That's not a very good list. Now, I would have thrown one guy in here they didn't, but I can see why they probably didn't because of the fact that he was on the team this past season. But Isaiah Hodgins was just signed to the Niners. I'd throw him in the loop over Colin Johnson.
Yeah.
Not that that's a great option either. But again,
better than Tony.
That's part of the interesting parts of this is you see places that we struggled to go ahead and, get and develop players at, but you also see where we didn't. And this is a spot we definitely did struggle. Tight ends. Evan Ingram. Goes without saying there. Cody Latimer, who, remember, was a wide receiver with us for a little while. He went off to the UFL as well, and he bulked himself up and became a tight end.
Beefcakes.
And Chris Myrick. We all remember that blocking tight end that we had for a while. I was going to say Lawrence Cager over Cody Latimer personally.
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, he's not, I don't think he's with the team right now, but he's still not retired. He was still, like, if somebody called him up, he'd be like, well, my bags are already packed, and here I am.
Yeah. My gear and my jock strap's been ready to go.
Who would have thought I was already in town? Hops on the plane real quick. Like, that's what I feel like. Looks like he is actually on the practice squad for the Commanders. So he signed a futures contract with them as well, just yesterday, actually. So yeah, so Cage is still in the league. So like I said, I would go with him over Cody Latimer personally. But offensive line, this is an interesting mix here because there's some really good spots here and some really bad spots here.
Yeah,
Matt Pert, who from all you hear was much better for the Broncos this year than he ever was for the Giants. Ben Bredesen, who obviously was starting guard for the Bucs this year. John Feliciano, who's been member of the Niners the last couple of years, been kind of a jack of all trades for them. Kevin Zeitler, a guy that I'm still pissed we ever had to drop. We should have kept him and kept that going. He'd still be on the team. Cam Fleming. So it just shows you the tackle position has not been kind to the Giants. Yeah. And let's see, Eric Smith, Roy Mbatika. Remember, he was the international player that OC Umanura had found in Africa that on the Bears practice squad, now if I remember correctly. Will Hernandez, remember the guy that was a bust for us, but the Cardinals have gladly kept him now for years afterwards. Mark Glowinski, who was picked up late by the Colts this year, and Nick Gates, who we just saw last week starting at center for the Eagles. So not a horrible offensive line, but the issue is the middle and the interior is pretty good, but the outside, brutal, that's for sure. Interesting, though, because I feel like it's the opposite for us now. Like, we got two good tackles, one that's always hurt, unfortunately, but two good tackles, and our interior offensive line definitely leaves some to be desired. Interesting how it's reverse. Defensive line. Now, his one is a strong suit as hell. Like, that's amazing defensive line here. Leonard Williams, Ashawn Robinson, B.J. Hill, Dalvin Tomlinson, Jonathan Hankins, and Ryder Anderson. All of them except the last have had Pro Bowl style kind of seasons, basically. Well, actually, I say Ashawn Robinson have a Pro Bowl style, but he's been an above average player before this league. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a defensive line. If we could have a defensive line like that, I'd be extremely happy. You kidding me? I'm like, here we go, strength of the freaking team here. Edge / linebackers. Another spot that definitely is not exactly brimming with talent here, guys. Lorenzo Carter, Jihad Ward, KJ Cloud, Cam Brown, Nico Lawless, O'Shane Zimenez, Benton Whitley, and Ellerson Smith. I mean, Jihad Ward might be the best of those players. Just tells you. And a lot of it is we've been ignoring the linebacker position for how long? We've only been back to a 3-4 for a couple of years now to develop edge rushers. We've had defensive ends prior to that. So, corner room, another brutal room here. James Bradbury, who can't even get off the bench in Philadelphia, is apparently one of the first name they give. Isaac Yiddom, Nick McLeod, Fabian Moreau, Antonio Hamilton, and Darnay Holmes. It's a passable group. Just wouldn't say it's a great group.
Yeah.
But here is the great group. Xavier McKinney, Julian Love, Jabril Peppers, and Bobby McCain at safety. That's pretty damn solid.
Yeah.
I think most of us would take that in a heartbeat. You know.
Come on, McKinney, come back. McKinney.
He ain't coming back. He ain't coming back.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it shows a lot of like spots the Giants have done well at developing talent, scouting talent, because this is a combination of free agents and draft picks, obviously. You know, some of these guys, you know, like Jabril Peppers, for example, like wasn't a draft pick of ours. But defensive line, safety, both really, really strong suits for us, you know. And quarterback, I think, was a surprisingly stronger spot than I expected. But I wasn't thinking Geno Smith at first when I thought that. I'm like, oh my God, he did have that one game we all want to forget where he broke.
Where he broke
Eli. Yeah. Again, not his fault. That's the Giants' fault, point blank, for allowing that to happen.
McAdoo.
I blame Mara for that too. Point blank.
Yeah.
Mara had to sign off on it for everything I heard. So, but yeah, like I said, interesting mix. And like I said, I could make the case that this roster might be better than the current Giants roster. You're trying to disagree with me, but you're like,
It's hard to say.
Let's legitimate look at quarterback room. You would take the quarterbacks in this, right? Not ours.
100%.
Okay, so
running back, 100%.
Running back room, wide receiver room. Nope. Tight end. Yep. Offensive line. No.
Yeah, that's
I would say no. Defensive line. Yep. Linebackers. Nope. Corners. Nope. Safety. Yep. Right?
yeah. So 5-4.
It's still win. It shouldn't be that close with the people you've gotten rid of. And let's be honest, there's some rooms that are not even close seconds. Like, again, I like Tyler Nubin a lot, but don't tell me you wouldn't take that safety group in a heartbeat. Like, that's not even a close second there.
No, not at all.
Quarterback room. Hells yeah. Running back room. Hells yeah. Like, some of these spots, like, wow.
Like that safety position would change that defense overall.
Yeah. I mean, that's like I said, a pretty telling thing of, you know, how much talent has left this room, that's for sure. And unfortunately, not coming back. Not coming back, guys. All right, let's go into our review of players that we started there last week, and we got the last episode, I should say. We have our offensive linemen to go over, and that's been a big, you know, issue for the Giants since, you know, probably since the Calvin Coolidge administration, it seems like. So, you know, 99 of the 100 years, it feels like. So let's get right into it with the biggest name we have. And it's not John Michael Schmitz. I mean, the biggest name as far as the best player, not the most words and most letters. It's Andrew Thomas, who is by far the best offensive lineman we have. By far, I would say the best offensive player we have, even. Now, you can make the case with Neighbors.
I was going to say.
But he's done 1 year, and Thomas has had, you know, multiple years now that he's been that guy. So, you know, if I had to pick one of the two as the best, I would definitely pick Thomas for right now, with that potential to change as Neighbors continues to grow. And Neighbors is probably number two. Probably number two at that point. Tracy, number three. But yeah, Andrew Thomas is just a beast of a player, guys. When he's healthy, it's such a different team. It's not even funny. Like it's easy to say that, but it's true. Only played 6 games this year, 416 snaps, 3 penalties, 4 sacks allowed. It's a 75.4 PFF grade, which is definitely off his normal that he's had the last couple of years, but he was battling injuries before he finally went out with those injuries, and I think that's a good part of it. 71.8 pass protection grade from PFF and 73.8 in run blocking. The biggest issue, though, is he's played only 16 games in the last 2 seasons. Now, again, there's 17 games this season, so that's less than half the games he's in. Not a good ratio. Now, it's not helped by the fact that he was out for 11 games this year. Obviously, that's a big chunk of those, 18 games he's missed in the last 2 years when it's 11 this year. But 7's also a decent chunk. It's not like it's like, that much of a difference there, I wish I knew more on what happened with him, the medical, the things that I, A, don't have any right to hear about, and B, wouldn't even know what I was looking at probably if I got the chance to look at his medical chart. But it's like, why does he keep getting injured? Like, is this a predisposition to it? Is it dumb luck? Like, I don't know. But it's getting to the point where if it happens again next year, you're going to have to look at that as that's probably the typical as long as we have Andrew Thomas. And I already am saying that swing tackle is going to be a very important position for us this offseason because of it. Because I don't want to see Josh Uzudu or Evan Neal out there again. But it's going to be even more important if we knew what the problem was and if it's going to be more of a lingering problem there if it happens one more year. But swing tackle is an important position for us this year because of that. I just hope that he can put it together next year and be healthy. Because when he's on. And it's a different offensive line when he's there by far. We've talked about it before. The guy plays against, top end rushers, has, the rotation of players next to him at that left guard position. I mean, it's been how many people he's played with. This was the one nice thing this year. He's at least had John running the whole time. But it's been a carousel, that left guard position for him. So, like I said, hopefully he's healthy this year, but absolute beast when healthy. Not a single complaint, minus the injury issues, which isn't really a complaint, more say is a hope and a dream to stop.
Yeah. Please
Like
get
doing
better.
it on
Please get better.
purpose.
I'll write you a
Like,
card.
we need to coach him to stop getting hurt.
Yeah.
Like that's not the way he works, you know. So next up, guys, we have that guy that I mentioned that was played a left tackle next to Andrew Thomas the whole time. John Runyon Jr., which that's kind of a scary pitcher we picked for him there.
It's a good pitcher.
Yeah, he looks a little shocked and awed here. 13 games in the season, 842 snaps, 5 penalties, 2 sacks allowed, 56.1 PFF grade, 62.6 against the pass, 52.3 against the run, which is par for the course of what John Runyon Jr. is. We talked about this when we first signed him. He's a good run blocker, not a very good, good pass blocker, not a very good run blocker. And the numbers show that again this year. The only difference this year compared to previous years is he wasn't a great run blocker. Pass blocker. He was, average to below average in pass protection. Now, again, another guy that got hurt this year, which I think was the first injury he had his entire career. Remember them talking about they were signing him because of durability. He's durable.
Yeah.
He's durable until he puts that blue uniform on. All of a sudden, guys tend to not be so durable when that happens. But I got to think that the injuries that he was, attempting to stay on during were affecting the way he played because he wasn't his usual self. And I still think he was an overpay. I still don't like the contract he was given, especially when I watch Hard Knocks. Like, oh, New York Jets are also looking at him. Just hit him $2 million more. Like that was their answer.
All Beyonce.
Give them more money. Give them more money. Like, but yeah, like I said, I like the player. Don't get me wrong, and I like the person. He seems like a really nice guy. I just think we overpaid, and that unfortunately clouds my judgment of him as a player because I have higher expectations because of that paycheck. Even though if I was him, I would take that paycheck too, obviously.
Yeah. Show me the money.
Who wouldn't? So, all righty. Let's talk about the center of it all. Our actual center. John Michael Hammerschleimer Schmitz. His name is my name too. And
Hammer time shrimps.
Sophomore season there in the NFL, definitely better than what his freshman year was, that's for sure. But I wouldn't say it was a great year, that's for sure. And I wouldn't even say that he's somebody that should be just handed a starting job next year because of how bad he's been the first 2 years, which is a real disappointment. You and I were excited when we drafted him. We thought he was a great pickup in the second round. I think most people did, but the production just hasn't been there. And
yeah, he was supposed to be a brick wall.
I don't know, but 56.1 PFF grade, 62.6 against the pass, just a 52.3 against the run. Oh, I'm sorry, I gave the wrong stats. I gave the stats for John Runyon Jr. 50.2 against the pass, even worse, and 67 against the run. And you see it when you watch him on film, like he's got guys passing him left and right. He's not really holding up his end of the bargain as far as pass protection, that's for sure. I have no issues with his run blocking. That's been solid. I wouldn't say great, but it's been solid. But boy, has he been bad against rushers. Especially anybody with any kind of speed. They've been just kind of moving to the outside of him and going on through and just doing whatever the hell they want. And that's not good. The center has to be able to hold his own at that point. Because it's very easy once you break down the middle to get to the quarterback. We know as Giants fans, we see Dexter Lawrence do all the time. This guy makes people look like Dexter Lawrence. That's the problem. And I would not be shocked at all if they bring somebody in, like I said, to compete with him. Or if hypothetically they re-sign Greg Van Roten, maybe he's the guy they look at as center potentially if things continue going down this path for John Michael Schmitz. But I'm hoping, because I know he was still battling injuries, obviously, at the beginning of the season and all. We talked about that. He had injuries that still linger from the prior year. I'm hoping somehow he had mobility issues and all because of the injuries he had, and maybe some of that's fixed now, and he'll be better next year.
Yeah.
But I have no way of knowing that. I'm not going to count on it. I'm going to plan for the worst and hope for the best. It's the best way to do it. So let's talk about our right guard.
Oh, he's a guard.
Greg Van Roten, we talked about him a little, a couple episodes ago because he is a free agent. One of the guys we talked about as a free agent we'd like to keep. 63.4 PFF grade, 64.9 for the pass, 62.3 for the run. So solid, not great, not amazing, not Pro Bowl. I'm not trying to make him seem more superlative than what he is, but he's a solid veteran that played multiple positions for us. We played one snap at a left tackle, 138 at center, and 982 at right guard, where obviously he spent most of his time. 17 games, 1,121 snaps, so that's a lot. 5 penalties and 7 sacks allowed. That's also a lot. That's a problem. But probably the best bargain we had on this roster, guys, besides, people that are on the rookie deals, obviously. $2 million guaranteed, $3 million overall in the 1 year. And you got a guy who literally was top 10 in snaps on the guard position and was one of your better players. Like I would probably sit there and say, based on how this season went, he was our third best offensive lineman between the 2 tackles. It's the only ones that I would put ahead of him. The best interior offensive lineman we had all year.
That's fair to say.
Yeah. And for a guy to get a guy for $3 million that provides that, win-win, guys. But even if we re-sign him, we have to think long-term with him. He's going to be 35 next season, guys. So the clock is starting to wind down in his career, and he knows that he's not stupid. These guys get trained to understand and respect that and put money away to prevent issues later on down the line when this kind of time comes, even beforehand.
Greg Van Olden.
But I would bring him in again as a guy that I would not guarantee a starting spot to. So we're going to bring you in. You're going to get the chance to start, and we'll see what happens. I don't think anybody's going to go, hey, we're going to rebuild our offensive line with this 35-year-old.
Yeah, no.
Like, that's not what happens. So a team like the Giants would make sense for him. He's already got the relationships. He's already been on the team. He knows what he's expecting. Unless he had a bad experience or relationship with somebody we're unaware of. That's always possible too. But
he had too many peanut butter jelly sandwiches.
Like, he's telling people on Facebook conversations and all the time, we need to go get so-and-so. They get to decide where they go, guys.
Yeah.
This is not Madden. You don't get to pick. You don't keep more money until they come over like that. That's not the way it works, guys. Not the way this works at all.
They definitely would.
So then we got our second best offensive lineman, at least in my eyes. A guy that we were big fans of when he was, first talked about when we first got Priscillo. Jermaine Illuminor, the Jersey boy himself, born in England, but grew up in Jersey. 63.2 PFF grade, 71 against the pass, 56.9 against the run, 15 games, 925 snaps, 10 penalties, and 4 sacks allowed there. And he played both tackle positions there, guys. So, definitely, I think, a nice upgrade from what we've had the last couple of years with Evan Neal. Not that that's saying much. That doesn't take much to upgrade that kind of position there. 313 snaps at left tackle, 1 at left guard, 610 at right tackle, and 1 at tight end. And we got him into the year, guys, before we have to figure out what we're doing long term. But if I was the Giants, I'd be talking about extending him right now. I don't think he's an expensive player. I don't want him going to a contract year, because if he gets another solid year like this, he had a solid year with the Raiders before we got him. That'd be back-to-back solid years. That means someone's going to start wanting to give him some money. And the versatility is something I absolutely love. He can literally play anywhere in the field except center. He filled in very admirably when they finally moved him over to left tackle after the failures of Zudo and Hubbard, and did a very admirable job, as good as you can do, especially for a guy who hasn't played the position in a few years. So, yeah, Jermaine Illuminor, that's the guy I want to keep. Definitely want to keep him. Let's talk about the burger flipper. The guy who's talked trash by the fans last year, at least kept quiet in that regard. And I feel like I had some mixed results here. Evan Neal, 61.2 PFF grade, 49.6 against the pass, 80.8 against the run. Literally, he had one of the best grades anybody had on this entire team, let alone the offensive line, for what he was able to do with run blocking. But it is also hard to ignore how bad he was against the pass in the result, too. we've all seen, we open up our X, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it, and you see slow motion video of him going, and looking like an absolute fool against a pass rusher that just put one move on him and made him look like a child, basically. So very disappointing, like I said, that what he's been and what he's turned into in this league, that's for sure. Had a lot of high hopes for Evan Neal coming in. I thought it was going to be a great 1-2, tackle stud kind of duo at that point with him and Andrew Thomas, but it just hasn't worked out that way. I still want to see him moved into guard. I think that's the better position for him. I don't know why the Giants are so seemingly against it. I would sit him down now when you're having your end of season talks. I don't know if they have it or not yet, but they're going to have it if they haven't. And say, listen, we really do appreciate everything you put in work-wise for us when you're coming back also from a pretty bad injury. But we got to look at you at a different spot here. It's just not working at the tackle position. But I think he'd be good at it if he moved inside. He's a big player. He has the size to do it, that's for sure. He's got the movement to do it. What he's got trouble is his foot quickness at that point, and people get to the outside faster than he does. And he gets confused by some of the reads and stuff like that. But there's no one to protect him because he's on the edge. So I think putting him inside is an interesting idea, and I think it could potentially work very well. Kind of like how it worked for Eric Flowers when we didn't do it then either. The guy was a Pro Bowler, I remember correctly, with the Dolphins as a guard later on, and signed a big contract with the Commanders. I mean, the guy didn't have a great long career. I'm not trying to suggest that, that's for sure. But he's a guy that we tossed to the side, and the NFL found a use for him. And the NFL found the use for him because we let them. We gave him up like that. Let's see. I'm looking at him right now. He's only 30 years old, by the way, Eric Flowers. I thought he was much, much older than that there. But yeah, like I said, it was 2019 when the Commanders first moved him over to the guard position. Did very well and decided Brandon Scherf. It was a great combo of guards they had. And then he went, like I said, Miami, then back to Washington. Again, I think this is the kind of role you can see Evan Neal falling down the road of later on, because it's just not working at a tackle. And as much as he talked trash about the fans, so I have no problem bashing him to a certain degree, he's still a Giant, so I'm still going to wish the best for him. But his best probably ain't good enough, guys. Not at the tackle position. At the guard position, maybe. And you're going to have some openings there. We already said Grant Van Roten may not come back. If he does come back, he might even come back to work some more at center and stuff like that. Or worst comes to worst, Evan Neal is your top backup guard. If you still need backups at every position. So, again, sad we're down to this point with a guy who was a 7th overall pick. But I'm not ready to fully give up on him at this point. But I'm also willing to fully give up him as a tackle. I think he's proven he can't do it. So, all right, next up, another guy that I'm just done with, and that's Josh Ezeudu, a guy that I wasn't very happy when we drafted a couple of years ago there, the 3rd round. Thought it was definitely a reach in Shane's very first draft. 62.7 PFF grade overall, 62.0 for the pass, 68 for the run, 182 snaps with 3 penalties and 2 sacks allowed. Got 17 games overall, 3 starts, 136 snaps at left tackle, 28 at left guard, and 18 more at tight end. And this was the guy that the Giants really wanted him to take over when Andrew Thomas got hurt. Like, you could tell they were salivating the idea. Let's put him in there. Let's put Josh Ezeudu in. Let's see what he can do. We saw what he can do. It's not good. I honestly think that's a very higher PFF grade than the eye test tells me when we watch the game. He's just not good, guys. And I want him to be good. He's a Giant. Like, I want every Giant to succeed. It's not a matter of me trying to validate my opinion. I want every single player that wears that Giants uniform to succeed. From the very first day they wear it to the very last day, and even beyond for some of them. He's a guy that just can't hack it. And if you can't hack it, sorry, there's no room for you in the Giants. So it's time to go ahead and try to find a place he can hack it. And I really hope the Giants do work him in a guard this training camp. And I really hope that it becomes public that the Giants told him point blank to go to somebody to go work on everything as a guard. It's the spot for him. It's where to go. I think Evan Neal needs to be a guard. I think Josh Azudu needs to be guard, and I think we need to go ahead and redo this entire backup tackle situation. We don't have a legit backup tackle at this point. Both these guys are better off as guard, in my opinion, and both of them, to be very frank, are better off going off to another team. But Josh Azudu is going to be here because he's on a rookie deal. He's a 3rd-round pick. Joe Shane's already got rid of Marcus McKeithen, who was obviously the 5th-round pick that year. He's already failed. But it's really time, like I said, to move on from these guys here. But they're going to hold on to them because they're cheap. That's what it boils down to. The second they need to make any money, they'll both be off this roster, probably permanently. So here's a guy that could be a decent backup guard for us as well. And that's Jake Kubas, who we really held on to and protected him from being picked up for much of this year. So undrafted kid that was in rookie minicamp, and we decided to go ahead and keep him long term. Really, as a guy that actually impressed the Giants a lot as well when he got the chance to go ahead and practice with everybody there. Once the regular training camp began, they kind of validated their thoughts on him. Coming up from North Dakota State University, you just don't know what you're expecting. It's not a very big school, obviously, but he impressed them, and they put him on the active roster. They inactivated him pretty much every single day because they wanted to give a chance for the, for him to develop without risking by putting him on the practice squad, somebody else picking him up and taking him because they thought that highly of him. Well, not the greatest start to his career, I'll put it that way. But I do think the plan was never to put him out on the field this year. The plan was 100% to go ahead and bring him around slowly, and then next year maybe give him a shot to play. But he got thrown into it because of all the injuries, guys. 52.2 PFF rating, 39.2 pass blocking rate, 67.2 against the run. 5 games overall, 3 starts, 197 snaps, 3 penalties, 0 sacks allowed. Now, that's a weird combo right there for you guys. 39.2 pass blocking rating with 0 sacks allowed. This tells you there was a lot of boneheaded moves in there that unfortunately got covered up. But definitely not the greatest, showing for a rookie year. But again, a guy that never was supposed to play this year. He was supposed to be the Turbo Miller, so to speak, of the offensive line that you never saw. But instead, he ended up playing again because of all the injuries. So, appreciate the effort, but definitely not the best results. And like I said, I'm hoping that another year, maybe something comes from him. Again, smaller school, there's a big, massive learning curve there. But after one more year, if it's not there, time to go. Time to go is for sure. 58 snaps at left guard, 138 at right guard, and 1 at tight end there. So we definitely did move around a little bit. So if he can develop even to a good backup guard, he's got some versatility to play both sides. So could do a whole lot worse, that's for sure.
Definitely. He's just, he's athletic, and like he said, he didn't have enough time to actually sit there and develop behind the scenes. And that's what you need at a play like this. Like he needs to sit there,
Took him out of the oven too quick.
Pretty much. Like, how the muffins are supposed to rise? You didn't let him rise. You just kind of let him
rise up.
you saw him rise up, and then you put him out too early, and he just deflated.
Yes. Like a bad souffle.
Yeah.
Let's talk about somebody else that deflated this year.
Uh-oh.
And that's Chris Hubbard. Chris Hubbard, a guy who has been a veteran in this league for a number of years now, a guy that used to be a solid tackle. Never was a great tackle, but it was above average tackle for most of his career. All the issues we had, obviously, offensive line. We plucked him from the 49ers practice squad after being cut by the Titans last year, where he did play decent for the Titans last year, I should say, too. But, yeah, horrendous showing for the Giants. 46.6 PFF grade, 25.5 against the pass, which I don't think I've ever seen a number that low.
That's pretty impressive.
73.8 passer blocking rate for the run blocking. That's not horrible. But 25.5 against the pass? God damn.
Yeah. You say it's a niche player?
I could say it's put out to pasture player.
Yeah.
Like that's what I feel like it just is, and I'm not trying to be.
Oh yeah.
You know, Chris Hubbard is probably younger than I am. He is 33 years old, but he's a guy that literally is, you know, on the way back end of his career. You know, 33 years old at this point, he's developed into a guy that you want him for his mind more than you want anything else. 102 games, 61 starts in his career. You know, decent player for those years. You know, good for Pittsburgh, good for Cleveland, you know, had some good years there. But it's been a while, guys, since he's been a great player. He had an okay year for Tennessee last year, but it's probably been since 2020 that he's considered an effective offensive lineman. And he better not be on the team next year. I'm just going to say it. He is a free agent. If we bring him around, it better be as an assistant line coach. That's probably his knowledge is probably his best trait now. Where he's at.
Yeah, fair enough.
Next up, we got a guy that I was excited about bringing here. I thought it was going to be a nice pick, especially where he was going to be as a backup guard. And another guy that definitely disappointed from what I expected. 47.9 PFF rating for Aaron Stinney, the former Bucks guard, now Giants guard. 56.4 pass blocking rating, 50.5 against the run, which was his bread and butter when he was with Tampa. Like I said, guys, again, living in the Tampa Bay area, I saw a lot of him. You know, he was one of the starting guards due to injury during the Super Bowl run with Brady. He popped back into the starting lineup last year, and that's when all of a sudden the run game started going. He was a big integral part of that. I just didn't see it this year with him. 16 games, 3 starts, 193 snaps, 2 penalties, 0 sacks. But wasn't a great, you know, wasn't a great time, that's for sure. All but one of the snaps was at left guard. He did one of snap at left tackle, which I don't remember him moving to left tackle for a play, but he must have. Another guy who's a free agent. And I think, you know, it's probably the best to move on. It just didn't work out for some reason. And I don't know if that's just the Bucks knew something we didn't know, and that's why they let him go in the first place, or what the deal is. Because they got Ben Bredeson, and Ben Bredeson has been a starting player for them. Not that he's been a great starting player, but he's been a starting player. He's gotten playing time. He hasn't embarrassed himself. And most of the offensive line for the Giants has embarrassed themselves this year.
At some point, yeah.
So, yeah, not great. That's for sure. Not great.
Evan Neal was definitely caught flipping burgers.
Yeah.
Next to Donald Trump, and he wasn't so happy.
He was getting flipped also by defensive linemen all day long too. So that's a whole
there.
And
by Giants fans.
All righty, guys. Let's pay the bills real quick, and then we're getting to our picks here for the weekend's games here coming up here. So let's get to it.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. And of course, if you want to also support the show, you can do so by doing a super chat on YouTube, or by doing by sending stars on Facebook as well, or the freeway. Just hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the share button there, tell a friend about the show.
Ring the bell.
Again, we always say it, and it's the truth. We suck at marketing. So we count on you all to help us out there and get the word out to everybody there. So I shouldn't say that. Somebody put in the comments one time, who from New York, New Jersey says y'all? I live in Florida, damn it now, okay? And I said it to him. He's like, what part of Florida? He goes, what part of New Jersey, New York says y'all? And I said, Florida. We're part of it now. We're part of. I feel like this is like a weird part.
Use.
Utes. The Utes. It's the positive.
Use.
Yeah. Let's.
Excuse me. What's a Ute? No, Ute.
We got a couple comments. We'll go over those real quick before we get into the games here, because I know everybody's probably got us in the background, not really watching while they're watching the Notre Dame and Penn State game, which is tied 10-10, by the way. So Deb says Tom Brady only owns 5% of the Raiders, but he sure seems to be contributing a lot. Well, yeah, but he also owns 5% that may turn into more probably later on down the road, is what I'm thinking going on.
Yes, probably like help us. Now you own 10%.
Yeah, I think there's probably a handshake and a wink and a nod towards that kind of thing. That's for sure. So, what I think is more interesting is he's literally doing the announcing for Fox this weekend, while the team's coordinators he's going to interview the next week are on the field coaching.
Yeah, there's definitely conflict of interest here.
I don't know if I call it a conflict of interest, because like, what is he going to get out of it? Oh, I'm going to talk nice about you on the show if you become the head coach of the Raiders. Like, you really think that's going to stop anything?
Oh no, he's going to do his job. Tom Brady's Tom Brady. He's the guy.
I'm just saying. I feel like what possible benefit could they get out of that scenario? Because I hear that often, the conflict of interest. Like, it's a weird scenario, that's for damn sure. And Tom Brady might have to be a little nicer than he wants to be, because he's going to be interviewing them to be head coach the next week. So I guess maybe that's the conflict of interest, but it's like,
well,
I don't see that happening.
I hear what you're saying. You're not going to sit there and bash everyone or give yourself, like, as the broadcaster, if someone makes it, a bonehead play,
you're not going to bash a coach either way. Like, how often do you hear somebody on a telecast of a game going, that guy's a POS and shouldn't be a coach?
Well, they don't say it like that. Oh, what a bonehead move, Chris Collinsworth, looking at you.
But usually they would say, like, "Ooh, I don't know if I would have done that if I was them." Like that kind of thing. Like, They don't say it harshly. It's not like that's not the way it usually goes.
Yeah, but that's I wouldn't have done it that way. Is in the NFL, it's like working in the corporate office saying, "As per my last email."
I know. I'm just saying, like, that's what I feel like is going on. So, Craig says Fields or Jimmy G as a coach. I would definitely go Fields if that's the options. Fields, yeah.
Yeah.
Deb says JMS is a disappointment. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Almost as big a disappointment as I am to my parents. Let's get on to
JMS.
Let's get on to our picks there. So let's see if we can make you guys some money there. So we got the NFL picks for the playoffs, round 1. Ding, 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 ding. What are the playoffs again? I haven't been there in a while. I forgot.
Yeah.
I
didn't hear no bell.
So, guys, we're going to do kind of a quick version of this because we wanted to give you guys a lot of news and go over that offensive line there for you. So, very first up, we have the Chargers at the Texans. The Chargers are a 2.5-point favorite in this, a 42.5 over under on that. And I'm picking the Chargers all day long to win this. The Texans just haven't looked quite as good as the Texans looked last year. Obviously, they got some major injuries on the offensive side of the ball, especially at wide receiver. And then, of course, they got the fact that, let's be honest, they're only in the playoffs really because their division sucks. It's the truth. You know it.
Yeah, I mean, which is fair enough to say.
Titans and the Jaguars, great teams.
Interesting.
Even the Colts. The Colts couldn't beat us.
Yeah.
So they kind of got there by default. So, again, Chargers I'd have to win. I think Chargers obviously cover the 2.5 points. That's not even a field goal. And I'm going to go under on this. I think this is going to be one of those defensive matchups kind of situations there. And I think, like I said, I think it's going to be the Chargers will be in control the whole time. But the Texans will always have a chance to come back throughout the game just because the points will be low. But the Chargers will outmatch them entirely. I don't think it's even a concern.
Yeah, I mean, even if Houston takes the lead in this game, like from the get-go, I don't think it's something that Harbaugh is going to worry about. I agree with you. We have the same trifecta working here. I'm taking the Chargers. I jumped on Harbaugh's bandwagon as soon as he went over to the Chargers, saying that he'll make this a playoff team.
Yep,
from the get-go. I remember saying, Drew, that this guy, their head coach, is one of the better coaches in modern day football, and you sat there and made fun of me saying I was saying he's the best.
He needs a ring. He needs a ring still. I'm sorry, I can't put him in that category without
He's
a ring.
he's still a better modern day football coach
Then a lot of them, yes, he's above average. Until he wins the ring,
Yes.
I can't give him like that much kudos. Say he's one of the best of this generation.
I didn't say best. I said better.
I said one of the best.
Again. There you go again.
I'm just saying, when you say he's one of the better, you're insinuating winning. He's like one of the best.
No, that would be best. There's that's part of the English language. There's
Are you doing a good, better,
good,
best?
better, best.
Don't give me your sales pitch, goddammit. Next game.
Anyway, up next, you got the Steelers going into Baltimore for the 8:00 game Saturday night or 8:30. And the Ravens are favored by 9.5 points in this game, which woo-wee. And the over-under is 43.5 points. Which
That's a big spread, though.
It's a big spread with a low points. They're saying it's a blowout. Someone's getting blown out here.
Whoa.
Hey.
Things are spreading open. We got blowouts. What's going on here? What kind of game is this? Quote the Raven.
They won some more. You got Lamar Jackson being like trying to get that MVP candidate that he's been trying to do for the past 3 years at this point.
Well, he's won twice already. I mean, this would be the trifecta.
Just saying.
Got more MVPs than playoff wins.
Yeah, legit. Yeah. So let's face it. The Steelers, I think 9 out of the 7 meetings they've had, the Steelers won. But the Steelers also, I think, lost 4 of the last 5 games, and they got blown out by the Ravens. Granted, they're 1-1 this year. I feel like the Steelers are on their way out. Pickens has like just been picking his nose, not knowing what's going on here. So I'm taking the Ravens to win this game. I'm taking the Steelers to cover this game because I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It is a playoff game, and they're going to play it tough and close. And I am going to pick the over because 44 points is Tommy. 20-24 is a little too low for these two teams, the way they've been playing. It's more of offensive.
Yeah. I'm with you. And we got the same exact picks in this whole thing here, but I got to look at the fact that the Ravens have struggled in the postseason lately. And
100%.
Yeah, and that's why I'm with you on Steelers covering, because I think that's a legitimate thing. The Steelers cover, and then from there you're again Ravens Steelers over. It just makes all the sense in the world. It's a divisional matchup with a team that hasn't done very well, even though they're heavily favored in the postseason. This should be a slam dunk pick all day long for Ravens Steelers over.
Yeah, and this is also our last time agreeing 100%.
That's good.
So
we can't agree like this. Let's go to the Sunday. Sunday. We got the Broncos at the Bills here, and the Bills are 8.5-point favorites in this game here. 47 is the over-under, so they're expecting a decent high-scoring game here. And you and I aren't that much different necessarily. Actually, we are, but the Bills are going to win this. Let's be honest. This is a game that if the Bills win this, no one's surprised. But if the Broncos win, everybody's like, whoa, upset of the weekend, basically. Like, that's the way it'll be. But I think this is that year that you just get happy if you're the Broncos to go ahead and just get in the postseason, make some progress. You got a quarterback that's developing now in Bo Nix, and then you go ahead and build on that next year. Kind of like we hope to do back in 22. It's that kind of season.
I was literally going to bring that up.
And then from there, the sky's the limit depending on what happens with Bo Nix's progression at that point there. But this won't be, like I said, this won't be the game for them. But I could see where it's not going to be a complete blowout. I think the Bills will probably win by about 10 points here. So I got Bills to win, Bills to cover, and I do have the over on the over-under there as well.
Yeah, Bills are definitely going to win this game. They should. Everything on paper, they should. Broncos are also a top 5 defense this year, playing some damn good defense. And what they do best is get after the quarterback. I think this is actually a record. I heard the stat earlier. I don't recall where, but the Broncos are one of those teams that pressure the quarterback the most. And I want to say that their defense actually has 60 sacks on the year. And you also have to look at Josh Allen, who's one of the least sacked quarterbacks this year. So when you talk about a great defense versus a great offense, you're also looking at Josh Allen being able to get out of the pocket and not get sacked. And that's what this defense does the best for the Broncos. So they're going to be under pressure. There's going to be a lot of running around. Right? Like I said, the Bills should win. But I do think the Broncos will cover this. I think it will be a close game. They will lose probably by 7. So that 8.5 is a little too rich for my blood. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to take the under because I think it's going to be a little more slow paced. If you're playing in Buffalo and knowing the weather that we're supposed to be getting over here, you might get a snowmageddon coming up here.
Ooh, they're paying people $10 an hour to shovel snow.
Yeah, listen. They were talking like 10 inches of snow in New Jersey on Monday, and now it's an inch apparently Saturday. So who knows what's going on? It is Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
I think if you sneeze, you get a foot of snow.
Yeah, I mean, especially this time of the year, it's the prime time season for the league affects snow. That's for sure. So that'll actually probably really help the Broncos. I feel like because you're going to slow down the game and you kind of take away some of what makes Josh Allen special to a certain degree at that point. He has to be a pure pocket passer to a certain degree. He's going to be less mobile. Yeah. But I still think the Bills, no matter what.
No, 100%. Bills win. I just don't think they cover.
All
right. Up next, 4:30. You got the battle of the greens, the gang greens, if you will. You got the Packers going into Philadelphia playing the Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 4.5 points in this game, and you got an over-under at 45.5 points. The one thing you have to think about this game is who's going to be quarterback for both these teams. You got Jalen Hurts, which I'm not sure if
he was a full participant in practice today.
He did clear.
I haven't heard it clear, but he was a full participant, which is usually a sign that he has.
Yeah, perfect. And then you also got Love over there in the mid, if you will. He banged up his elbow, his thrown elbow. He lost feeling his right hand apparently on Sunday. He got it back Monday, and he was back to practice today. But I am going to take the Eagles in this game as much as I want to be a Packers fan for multiple reasons.
Yeah. Say someone's in trouble.
Yeah, definitely in trouble. I'll be sleeping on the couch tonight. I'll take the Eagles to win this game. I'm actually going to take them to cover because I'm not sure how Love is going to play in this game with a banged up elbow when they pulled him out. And if you have to put Malik Willis in the playoff game against the Eagles, who have been on fire on offense and defense with Barkley in there, I don't think they have enough juice to cover the Eagles. And I'm taking it in the under. I think Barkley's going to...
It is very good. You're taking it in the under, huh?
Oh, hey now.
Oh, hello.
And I think it's going to be a more slow-paced game. I do think the Packers defense has played well against the pass. Yeah. Guess what? You're playing against Barkley. And when you played them last time, week 1 in Brazil, guess who won?
Brazil.
The Eagles.
But they barely won. That was a very close game. And I think the big thing for me is going to be, as you mentioned already, the health of the quarterbacks. I would definitely not put a dime on this game until I know for sure what's going on.
Nope.
I'm betting in this based on the assumption that both starting quarterbacks will be there. And if both are and they're healthy, I would actually pick the Packers. The Packers, I feel like they're due. You know what I'm saying? Like, the stretch we talked about with the Broncos. I feel like, last year they won one game. I feel like this is the year that they're going to make a little bit of a surprise run, I think. Keep in mind that their record may not show how good they are because of what division they play in.
was about to say their record. If they're playing in the South, they would have won that division. If they
but 11-6 when you had 4 games against the 2 top teams in the NFC, the Lions and the Vikings.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you played in the West, you won that division.
Yeah, and they had the second best offense and the second best defense in that division, by the way. So, and they played just as well on the road as they do at home. They're 6-3 at home, 5-3 in the road. So, I mean, half a game difference. Nothing major there. So,
yeah.
This tells me this is going to be the game, and it may be just the fact that I hate the Eagles. It may just be.
It could be,
but
I hope I'm wrong in this one. Even though I need to get my points back right to win for the year.
I hope so too. So I hope you're wrong as well. But next up, we got the Commanders at the Buccaneers, the local game to me here, which I actually talked about going maybe on Sunday too, but I don't think I'm gonna. I think it's like $100 a seat right now. They're not bad.
Actually, if you go to stand-in in Philadelphia right now, it's $125. I was looking at the tickets.
Well, no, I'm saying this is for Tampa with an actual seat and everything.
Yeah,
so it's $89 plus the fees, so you figure it's maybe about $100. So the Bucs are a 3-point favorite in this game. The over/under is 50.5, and so I'm just telling you, this is going to be the back and forth game with no defense whatsoever. This is the vibe I got in this. So I got the Buccaneers to win this though still, and I think they're going to beat the spread even because 3 points is not that big a spread. And I definitely got the over on the points of this thing. So I got Bucs over, and this is because it's Jaden Daniels' first game. First game is in the playoffs. Usually you don't win your first playoff game.
Typically, you're not wrong, but
you also usually don't go to the playoffs and win Rookie of the Year and blah blah blah. Like he's not exactly
or get the most wins that your franchise has had in 30 years. You're right. That normally doesn't happen. Yeah. But guess what? This guy is what everyone's talking about. CJ Stroud last year, and you're playing against the Buccaneers who just got in there. Like, yes, you're down there. Like they played some good football. There's sometimes their defense is up there hot. Sometimes the offense is. Baker's been playing lights out, but Jordan Daniels, he's really come to. And the first time these guys met this year, he wasn't who he is now playing. Jordan Daniels is a different quarterback. Yeah. So I think it's a rematch, a little bit of revenge. And I mean, I think Jordan Daniels is going out there proving a point. I don't think they advance past this round, but I do think DC wins this game. They're going to cover that, obviously, because they're going to win. And I'm taking the over because I agree with you. Something in this spells no defense, all offense, back and forth. Let's have some fun football.
Yep. Yeah, this is going to be a fun game to watch. That's why I was thinking about going. But like I said, $100 a ticket for a game that I'm not a fan of either team.
Yeah.
Probably not going to do it. Let's get to the last game.
Last game, Monday Night Football. Night. It's fantastic. Wild card weekend wraps up Monday night with the Vikings going into possibly LA. Depends what's going on with those fires out there.
It's already been moved.
It has been moved? Okay.
Moved to Arizona.
It's in Arizona?
Arizona. Right. Yeah, so no word yet if they're serving iced teas or not.
Oh.
They should.
Definitely should. Free iced teas for everyone.
So interesting because I mean it's going to be a home game for the Rams, but it's an away game
for both teams.
And I think we all know what team is better.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Well, the Rams are giving up 1.5 points, which I'm sure that line has changed. So if you got in with 1.5 points, definitely changes everything. Them playing in Arizona probably changes this whole betting. Before. And the over-under in this game is 48 points, which is the second highest of the week.
Yeah,
just behind the last game we just talked about.
It's crazy with the Vikings defense. I'm sorry, that's a little insane. People just forgot their defense is good all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, like they're hit or miss, and everyone,
to be honest with you,
honestly, everyone forgets about how good the Rams are, and Matt Stafford, who's actually a legit quarterback veteran in this league, and everyone forgets because. Everyone thinks Darno's this is how he's played, but how many years have you seen him play terrible football, and because he's playing good football now, everyone thinks he's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback.
Yep, and
But
everybody
think that last year.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Not at all. But hey, Drew, this past month, how did the Rams play?
I'd have to look up the exact in the past games, but
so everyone talks about the Rams being terrible. Yes, they start off 1-4.
First of all, I'm not saying terrible, just for the record.
I'm just saying they start off 1-4. They're a hotter team right now than the Vikings.
They won the last 5 games.
Yep. I'm taking the Rams to win this game. They're on a point. You guys, Sean Vay, coaching everyone up. They started off banged up this year. People forget, yes, they lost New. They lost the best defensive player.
They won 5 of the last 6. I forgot they lost to the Seahawks last week.
Yep. So,
but you got to look at some of those wins, though, too. I mean, they beat the 49ers, whose entire team is on the IR. They beat the Saints, who lost to the Raiders. They beat the Jets, who beat themselves. And they beat the Cardinals, who I understand they're better this year than they've been, but they're still not an elite team. It wasn't like they beat a whole bunch of good teams. The one good, solid win is the Bills. They beat them on the 8th of December by 2 points. But the rest of those wins, the Saints, the Niners, the Jets, the Cardinals.
So you're saying that they beat
teams they should have. And I'm not saying that negatively. That winning teams do that. So I don't mean that as a negative thing.
Yeah. Well, you're saying the Bills too, and the Bills are probably going to the AFC Championship.
We'll see.
Bills are probably going to the AFC Championship. So I'm taking the Rams in this game and the upset because everyone's expecting the Vikings because they've played good football all year. I think the Cinderella story is coming to the end. I think that Sam Darnold is going to lose his slipper. I think Matt Stafford, who has been playing good football most of his career, is going to go out because no one else is important about this game for him. Is the end of his contract year, so he's looking for a payday. He goes out there and throws up a whole bunch of goose eggs. Guess what? He doesn't get it.
Who's in his last year?
Matt Stafford.
I thought he was. No, I didn't think he was a free agent. Is he? I thought they're going to trade him. No, he's definitely not a free agent. He's got 2 more years to go. I thought so. Remember talking about trading him this offseason. So he's got 2 more years to go. In fact, they'd have to trade him just to get out of the contract and basically.
So CBS Sports lied to me. Those sons of bitches.
No, he's got 2 more years left, and if they trade him, they save $4 million against the cap, and that's it. They're eating $45 million to trade him, assuming they don't do a post June 1st kind of designation. But that's good idea.
Well, anyway. It didn't change my decision. I think the Rams are going to go in there upset. Obviously, they're going to cover because they're not. They're going to ram, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring game because I do think the defense is going to step up, and I think because the defense are stepping up and everything we said, I think that's when Sam Darnold comes to play.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think the Vikings are going to go far in the playoffs, but I think they win this one. Like I said, I get what you're saying about the Rams coming in hot, but I think it's not as hot as people think. It's more they're coming in lukewarm and happen to play the weaker side of their schedule at that time. So I got the Vikings to win, the Vikings to, not to worry about that 1.5 point difference there. But I'm with you on the under. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. And I think that just proves more to the point with the Vikings because a high scoring game would actually be better suited for the Rams, I think, because the Rams offense is better than their defense, whereas the Vikings are more rounded, but their defense is definitely the stronger of the two.
Depending on the week, yeah.
So, all right. Well, we'll find out who's right and who's wrong.
I was talk about this game Monday night when we're watching this live.
Oh yeah. So that's gonna call it a night here for us, guys. So as we do got one more actually, real quick there. As Demon Time says, I believe in Eli. Like I said, it'd be a nice move if Eli was part of the ownership group. I think the fans would like it. Again, we'll be back again for you guys Monday. Remember, we don't do any more weekend shows now because the season's over. So we're back to every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, guys. As always, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. And of course, Rob's favorite,
Just like that page.
Football. Yes, exactly. And of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon, all the big ones there. So if you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe on all the platforms you use to watch, listen to, whatever at that point podcast. So appreciate you guys for watching as always, listening as always, participating as always. And we'll see you guys on Monday. It's going to seem like forever between shows. We haven't had this many days off in a while, it feels like.
Oh, it's weird.
It's been like at least 18 weeks. Appreciate you guys for watching as always. And as always, Giant fans,
go J-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.